Oh,
Well, we are now live. I am
hi.
joined today by Blacked Out Ewoks. How are you doing, man?
Good. Glad to be on. Thank you for having me. And this should be a great talk, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Let's give it a couple of seconds here and see if we got anybody else coming in. Looks like Anthony, trash compactor guy, might be on here.
Oh, that's great. Hi, Anthony. I follow him on Instagram. I mean, yeah,
Me too. He's got a great collection.
yeah. Any
So, how's
others?
everything over on the other side of the pond?
Well, it's getting dark now. I mean, it's already really dark outside, and but the same Monday and Tuesday is going to be a heat wave. It's going to be about 28 degrees, which is unusual. I guess it's like an Indian summer, but it's really unusual for this, But
Yeah.
yeah. So,
well, Gerald Coral joined us. Looks like we got 4 viewers right now.
hi,
John
Gerald.
Solo. What's up, dude?
Hi.
Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll just I think we'll dive right in. And first, thanks for joining me again. And yeah, we got 6 folks looking. So the topic today, which we'll get into in a second, are, modern Holy Grails or modern items that are, fairly difficult to find or fairly sought after. And we'll get into that in a second. But I wanted to touch briefly and just get your thoughts on this. And for those of you who maybe do not follow the Deal or No Deal group on Facebook, you guys may not have seen this, but let me give you a brief synopsis of what happened with some fairly rare items that Blacked Out Ewoks covered in a separate video a few weeks ago. An eBay seller who is unknown listed, I don't know, 4 or 5 Power Droid pre-production proof cards, including a very rare one for the Power of the Force figure that was never released. Correct, Blacked Out?
Yeah. It was Chromalin, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, Chromalin. Thank you. Yeah. So anyway, they were bid on. They were closed auctions. People who are fairly big collectors, they paid for them, and then somebody listed on the Deal or No Deal group saying, "Hey, if anybody bought these, I'd be interested in buying it if you're looking to flip them." And apparently somebody reached out to the eBay seller and said, these things went way too cheap. And that's debatable, but that's what he told him. And he said, I recommend you cancel these transactions, which the seller did do. The seller cancels the transactions and refunds the money to all of the buyers. But the problem is PayPal sticks it to you on the exchange rate. So some of these guys were out several $100.
That's outrageous.
And in addition to losing the items that they bid on fair and square. So somebody really screwed up, a few transactions. Anyway, long story short is it turned into a real mess on the Deal or No Deal group. And it was eventually came to light who the individual was. And I won't name names or anything, but the individual who told the eBay seller to back out of the deals did come to light. He was booted from almost every major Facebook group. So it was a real ugly scenario. Lots of words were exchanged, lots of negativity. One of the buyers was actually in his wedding. I mean, it was a close friend of his. I mean, it was crazy.
Dear.
Yeah, it was really bad. And he flat out lied to him that it says, no, it wasn't me who caused these deals to get canceled. It was one of his best mates. He was in the wedding, for goodness sakes.
Oh my gosh.
It was really ugly. It was really ugly. He got booted from every major group. But the good news is that the collecting community came together as a whole. They peppered this eBay seller and said, hey, you need to do what's right. You really need to make sure that these items go to the people who won these fair and square. And to the seller's credit, the eBay seller's credit, he left a lot of money on the table, several thousands of dollars. If I had to throw a round number out, he probably left between $15,000 and $20,000 on the table,
wow.
According to some of these. And he agreed to transfer all of these rare, yes, Boss Bounty, yes, we're talking about the Power Droid proof cards. Thanks for joining us, guys. Anyway, he agreed to transfer all of these pre-production proof cards. There was 5 or 6 of them. I don't know how many. He transferred them all to Tom Derby, the owner of AFA. And Tom Derby is going to make sure that all of these proof cards get to the original bidders and winners of the eBay auctions for the prices that were agreed to. So all's well that ends well. It was great that the seller came to his senses and agreed to take a little bit less money and get them to the correct collectors. It was not pretty. But what is your take on this, Blacked Out, before we dig into the main topic? But from my perspective, there's lessons to be learned here, and I've certainly got my thoughts, but I want to hear yours first.
I thought they went quite high because I bid on one of them. I bid on the 45 back, and I sort of budgeted for about 500 quid. And even though I'm a bit low in cash, I knew these were such a rare. You never see 6 or 7 Power Droid proof cards in a row, and so I had a go, but they went up to about $2,000 each, $3,000. So I thought they were reasonable prices, but then this guy comes along and says, you could make more money, and obviously the seller is going to see pound signs or dollar signs, and you sort of try and back out of the deal. And now it seems that he's going to honor the deal, which is good news for the buyers. So yeah, I mean, you told me about.
I agree. I think that the biggest lesson that I would take away from this is, apparently the gentleman that reached out to the eBay seller and convinced him to cancel the deals has a large proof collection.
Yeah.
So part of it, it was selfish in the fact that I think he was protecting the values on his own proof collection. He has a pretty massive proof collection, apparently. And somebody in here asked, Pixelated asked, were the items legit? Yes, they were. They were legit. So, part of it was self-interest, I think. He tried to spin it after the fact, after he was proven to be the gentleman that caused it, caused the cancellations. He tried to spin it as, well, I thought that he deserved fair market value for it. The values can be debated left and right, but I tend to agree with you, BOE, that the values weren't that far off. I mean, they were maybe a little low. The chromoline was low based on some of the conversations on Deal or No Deal. Some of those, a lot of people have said that should have sold for double what that one actually sold for on the auction. But
yeah. I mean, they were. I'm going to go for about £8,000.
Somewhere in there, yeah. But apparently, the consensus has been somewhere closer to 20K for the value. Yeah. But whatever. I've gotten a couple of complaints saying that the video keeps cutting out. I'd love to hear from other folks to make sure that the sound and the video quality is okay. One last quick point before maybe we dive into the main topic. I think that no matter what, I personally will never bring up a closed eBay auction in a public forum like a Facebook group where there's a lot of known and a lot of wealthy collectors. I personally will never bring up a closed eBay auction until that person has gotten the item. Me personally, that's the biggest lesson I've taken from it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Well, we talked enough about that, but let's get to the main topic. As I teased on Twitter and Instagram and every other stupid social media format, I wanted to talk to you about, and this is your idea, by the way. I want to give credit where credit's due. Blacked Out Ewoks came up with the topic for today's live stream, which is a great topic, I think. But modern Holy Grails. First of all, I want to get your opinion on what you consider to be the definition of a modern Holy Grail for Star Wars collecting.
Something that, as you collect over the years, and I've been collecting modern stuff, that you...
Looks like we might be losing Blacked Out Ewoks. His connection is not doing well. So maybe he can, BOE, I'm not sure if you can hear us. You might want to try rejoining.
Oh, should I?
Yeah, give it a try, and I'll chat. I'll chat until you come back. You can use that same.
Yeah.
Anyway, while Blacked Out Ewoks maybe sorts out his connection. So the topic is modern Holy Grails, and there's many definitions that for a Holy Grail. I'm going to give you my definition, and then once BOE joins us, maybe he can give you his personal opinion. I consider a modern Holy Grail to be an item that is fairly difficult to find. It doesn't have to be expensive, in my opinion. And I love to hear other people's comments, so keep the comments coming. I don't think it necessarily has to be expensive, but it has to be hard to find, in my opinion, to be a Holy Grail. For example, Ahsoka VC 101 ? That's not a Holy Grail to me. It's expensive. It's expensive. It's in high demand. Ahsoka on the vintage collection card. An AFA 90 of one of those just sold for $610 US. This is like a week or two ago. It's crazy. That's expensive, but that's not a Holy Grail to me. It looks like BOA is trying to get back in. Give me 1 second. Let's see if we can get him in here. Add to stream. Boom. All right. Hopefully we're better now. How's that?
Is my sound okay?
Much better. Much better.
Good. Okay, good.
Okay, all right. So let's hear your opinion. I just while you were gone, I said it doesn't necessarily have to be expensive, but it has to be hard to find. That's my personal opinion. Now let's hear your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that the obvious ones are stuff like the transition sabers, some of those. But we're going to go into that later, so I don't want to sort of say. But I'd say it's modern stuff that's maybe often that's towards the end of a line. So certain figures that are released towards the end of a certain line become hard to find and are quite scarce often, so, and then sometimes a lot more people are coming into the hobby and they sort of learn about these sort of almost not quite grail items. I call them gems, sort of gems, like, certain figures that might pique your interest and you want to collect them, and then you find them that they're quite hard to acquire. A lot of the vintage collection is quite like that, because I mean the 2010 to 2012 run is quite expensive now. I mean, average price for a carded VC figure from then is about 40 to 50 quid in the UK, and I mean, it's slightly cheaper in the US, but still, that whole line has got that sort of gem quality to it. I mean, so if you're looking at modern sort of Holy Grails, it's something like the transition saber Luke Skywalker, which is quite a desired piece, and I've known about that for quite a few years, because I used to read avidly this magazine, which is the Action Figure News Toy Digest, and that always, when you go through the price guide, it always has that figure at a really high price, like about $700 US. Even so, you learn. I mean, I didn't even always buy these. I'd just go Forbidden Planet and browse the price guide, and but obviously, I mean, I really miss this magazine. It's such a, great magazine. This is one of the last editions. I mean, I got the 9th edition, and that's what got me into Star Wars, because it had a feature on the vintage figures, and that just so that Lee's magazine Tomar, which was they were monthly or bi-monthly, and then stuff like the Brian Toys catalog is really useful. I mean, I don't know if he still does these, but these catalogs, he used to send them out, and you could always
real quick on that note, I want to for those viewers who want to see these catalogs. These old catalogs are so cool because it shows you kind of older prices, and it kind of gives you a sense of new releases, sometimes new releases at the time, and kind of some of the rarities that were considered fairly rare even back then. BOE did a few videos on those recently, so go back to his channel after and check out some of those publications that he kind of walks through. It's really cool to go back and look at those. But anyway, go right ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, because he's got the transition saber Luke. He doesn't even give the price for it. You have to go on the website. So he's got the US and the Euro. I think we've both got the Euro. So
well, let's dive in. Since we're talking modern, I want to first say one thing. When I first started getting into graded items,
Yeah.
I always liked the Power of the Force 2 line, and I had a few, but nothing like really nice. And when I started watching your channel, I started learning about all of these kind of weird and rare Power of the Force 2 figures. And you know, my collection today is probably because it's your fault. So
Yeah.
so let's start with the Power of the Force 2 line that started what, in 95,
Yeah.
since that's really the beginning of the quote unquote modern Star Wars collecting era. And so why don't you run through a few that you consider to be gems? And you mentioned the transition tray. And
Okay.
should we maybe give an overview of what they're talking about here?
Okay. The transition saber refers to that the lightsaber. Originally, the lightsaber was really long, and then they cut the size of the lightsaber down. So originally it would have gone right to the top of the package. So it was more or less longer than the figure. Then Kenner or Hasbro, they decided to make the lightsaber shorter. And this transition tray refers to the fact that that tray is for the long saber, but you've got a short saber inside it. So that's the sort of, and only a few of those transition sabers exist for the Luke Farm Boy, so that makes it quite a highly sought figure. They're more common to find on the Luke Dagobah figure, the Darth Vader, the Luke X-wing. Ben Kenobi is, if that exists, because I know Ben Kenobi can be found with a micro saber, but if it exists, that would be a real Holy Grail piece. So those
I did, you know, I talked to a gentleman who runs the Power of the Force 2 Facebook group, and I did ask him about that. I said, have you ever seen a Ben Kenobi a true transition tray? And I know there is, like you said, I know there's a micro saber, a really tiny saber, but is there one that has the kind of mid-range, mid-size saber in the long tray? And I think that he said he's not sure. So that's my long way of really not of contributing nothing to that conversation. So it's got to be rare if there's one out there.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been able to find anything about that. So that's the Power of the Force 2. So the most famous of that early cards is the Power of the Force 2 Luke Farm Boy transition. Then the Boba Fett, of course, Boba Fett with 2 errors. That's worth a lot of money. So that refers to the insignia on the chest or on the shoulder, or the half circles on the hands, or full circles. Any 2 errors on the Boba Fett figure brings in a lot of money. The retooled Vader. So this is the Vader that originally came in the Shadows of the two pack with Prince Xizor, and that made it onto a single card release, and I've never been able to find it. I've never seen it in real life, so that's one that's highly sought.
Yeah, one just sold on eBay maybe like 2-3 weeks ago. I was just completely dry in the bank account, so I didn't bid on it. It didn't go for too bad, but I wish I had gotten it now, because after seeing what it sold for, it was so cheap. I should have gotten it. So
yeah, I mean,
what about the weak weight?
That's the freeze frame. So the freeze frames are the 97-98 set. So the American Weequay is a highly sought figure. I think that was really short packed, and it's just had a legendary status. I mean, I remember this sort of magazine talking about it back in the 98, saying that was a rare figure. So, I managed to get one. I got one first on the Canadian card. And
I've been meaning to tell you. This. So, ahead of this live stream, I went on eBay and I said, okay, let's see what the Weequays are selling for now.
Yeah.
Ungraded. Now I'm talking ungraded. I'm going to guess it was about 80 condition.
Yeah.
What would you say the U.S. cards ungraded now? The U.S. freeze frame Weequays are selling for, and what are the Canadians selling for ungraded? These are closed transactions now.
All right, Canadians maybe £130 or 150 US, and
close. 200 for the Canadian.
All right, and then the US 400.
300.
Oh, 300.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
they're pretty expensive. I mean, they're almost, that's ungraded now.
Yeah.
And I mean that's more expensive than a vintage Kenner. It's crazy.
Yeah. But that is a tough figure to find. And I see a lot of the Canadian ones in Europe on sale, but not the US one. The US one's really hard to find. I mean, I was happy to get my AFA 75 for around 100 quid. So yeah,
And I can't find the Canadian. It's crazy. I've been looking for a Canadian one for a while, and there's a couple, but they're so overpriced. They want like $300 for it. It's crazy.
I think I got my Canadian for about 21 quid or something like that. There's also the long photographs. They're European. So instead of putting freeze frames onto the figures in Europe, they put a long photograph, and I've got the WK with that. I mean, I'm not even sure if there's a complete list of all those European cards with the long photographs. So that's a nice set to collect. The Luke Bespin's the most famous one of those. Other Power of the Force oddities. I mean, these may not necessarily be selling for a lot of money, but you might have to spend a little bit of time to track them down. So I'd say the Japanese tint C3PO.
The green tint. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, the Lando green card, which was only released in the US on a Sam's Club 3-pack.
I just got that one, as you know. That is at Collector Archive Services. It should be back in the next month. I'm excited about it.
That'd be great. The Gig Italian cards, they're really nice because that's the only Power of the Force line or modern Star Wars line that's made for a specific country, which is Italy.
Okay, let me show one. Let me show one while we're on that. I've got the Vader transition tray. The transition tray. This is what the Italian card backs look like. I love these Italian card backs.
Yeah,
they're so cool, and it's got the Gig logo up here.
Yeah.
I've been trying to find a really high grade, either Boba Fett for Mr. Domo's toys.
Yeah. I haven't seen one of those.
I've been trying to find a Bosk. I've been dying to find a Bosk.
Oh wow! I think the Boss does exist though on the Italian cards. So
it does. They're always beat up though. I cannot find a clean one.
Yep. Other things I would say that are quite rare or in the sort of gem category are the ones that came with leaflets. In the UK, we got ones with THX leaflets.
I got one. Hold on.
And Japanese figures also came with the THX leaflet.
There's my Boba Fett THX.
Oh, great. Yep.
But as he's talking about, as BOE is mentioning, he's got this little leaflet behind it. Yeah. And that is, that's for the THX kind of like advertising.
Yeah.
So try logo.
Those sell for a little bit more than your average carded Power of the Force figure. For those that are deeply into Power of the Force, you could say that those that were sold in Brazil have stickers on them, Estrella. We've mentioned the freeze frame Rike, which is the US. The Sand Trooper is also probably the second rarest, I'd say. Then the ATST driver, which I got last year or the year before, that's a rare
that's
one.
A nice one.
And the Boba Fett, those are the top four. So the Rike, Sand Trooper, ATST, and Fett. I know you got the Sand Trooper recently, and I've got the ATST. Mailaways. Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. One question I had is there's a Luke Jedi that is it the brown vest that's more rare than the black vest?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's variants with that as well with the lightsaber, and in terms of if it's indented or not. So that's a good one I forgot about the brown vest Luke Jedi. Excellent. So, okay. I was thinking about mailaways and nothing really rare, but in the UK we've got the Spirit of Ben in our price box. So the UK box is sort of lithographed and looks really nice. So that's something you might want to track down. Sorry. Now we're moving towards the end of Power of the Force 2, the Comtech. So you told me about this one, the Greedo with the yellow knee.
Oh yeah, so let me bring that up. So that's a great one. So there is a Greedo figure with the Comtech chip, and behind the knee. If you guys ever see this online, grab it, because sometimes sellers don't know what they have. But there's a very rare Greedo that has yellow pins that hold the knee joint together, and you can see it on the card. And I've talked to several collectors who are adamant that that's one of the rarest figures of the the early modern Star Wars figures. I mean, this one guy, I showed you the post. He said, I would have paid $700 for it, but I ended up getting it for $7. I ended up getting it for $7 because somebody listed it on eBay and didn't know what they had. So if you guys ever see a Greedo with the Comtech chip, and if you zoom in and you see those little yellow pins holding the knees together, and it's priced for really, really low, grab it. So
I think I've been looking for that. The R2D2 with the small round pin in the ankle, that's another one to track down. That's worth quite a bit as well.
And you just covered that one in a video. That was an interesting one I had never heard about. So that's a cool one.
And then the last thing we're going to talk about is the 1997 Theatre Edition Luke. So that was given away in special edition.
I have looked for, I'm not joking. I've been looking for one of those for probably at least 3 years. The problem is that whoever manufactured those Theater Edition Luke Jedis, they were given away at movie theaters for the re-release of Return of the Jedi. The problem is the bubbles had some kind of problem with the glue that holds them together, so they fall apart super easy. So even when you find one that's mint, by the time it gets to you, it's falling apart.
Yeah, because I've got one. Hopefully it's still attached. I mean, I paid about 20 quid for it, so
that's a good deal.
Yeah,
that's a good deal.
Okay,
well, let's go to episode 1. We're about halfway through our time here, so I want to make sure we get to some of these.
Okay, so I'm going to speed up a bit then. Episode 1.
No, it's not your fault.
But I'm famed for waffling. But episode 1, the most famous episode 1 figure is, I mean, the black vest Darth Maul. So I don't know which Darth Maul it is. I mean,
I looked. See, you brought it up. You brought it up on my Instagram page.
Yeah.
And so there are 2 Darth Maul figures. You got that one, which is the Tatooine Darth Maul. And then there's another one that's called the Jedi Duel for the final scene. The rare one that they both came with both either brown or black vests. They were both variants. The very rare one is the Jedi Duel. That's the one that doesn't have the big cloak like that one. And that if you find that one with the black vest, that's the super expensive one.
I'm feeling bad because I turned one down and I could have. Oh man. Anyway, that's the only other ones I'd say are figures that came out towards the end of the line: TC14, R21B, and CO Bibble. Those 3 sort of are slightly more expensive than the rest of the line. Power of the Jedi, nothing really. But I've got something recently. I want to show this.
Let's see it.
Action Figure Grader will know what this is. This is a sort of what might have been. So. If I can.
Did you get one of those pre-pro Comtech chips? That is super cool.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know what they're looking at here, there was a line of Comtech chips that were manufactured kind of early in the production process. This is like an early prototype Comtech chip for an unreleased is it Chewbacca, I believe?
Yeah.
They pop up, but not very often. And so this is a pre-production item. It's a very, very cool item.
Yeah. So
that Chewbacca was never released with the with that Comtech chip. So that's a pre-production kind of prototype.
Yeah. So I mean, there's nothing really in Power of Jedi. I mean, I think that Chewbacca that was going to be on that sort of card came on the Power of the Jedi. The only things I'd say for Power of the Jedi is the Aman, because I think that's a really great figure. I mean, it's captures the look of the character really good. The 300 Fett, if you're into Boba Fett. Then we go into Saga. So Saga, these are the figures I think I'd pull out from the whole line that I'd say are worth tracking down. Efont Man.
Oh man, I wish you had your prototype. You've got a first shot prototype of that one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fly across the pond and steal that from you one day.
I've got eight Ethon men carded as well. So you know,
Oh my gosh.
I need to dig them out, and I think two other characters that I think are quite nice to get are, I can't pronounce their names, Chenis Spieljek and Jakil. They're like aliens from Return of the Jedi. They're like from Jabba's barge. They've got like furry bodies and weird alien faces. They look like something from Space 1999. So Jakil and Tennis Speed Junk or stuff like that. Luke Bespin Duel. There's quite a few variants with that figure because you got the bloody stump, you got the magnetic hand, and all that sort of stuff. But those shouldn't be expensive to track down. The only thing I'd say that's maybe sort of considered a bit of a grail is the 2002 New York Toy Fair Vader. It's a silver Vader, and his lightsaber comes through.
I've seen that one. Comes through the bubble. Yes.
Yeah, that's
crazy expensive. Very expensive.
Yeah. Okay, good. So now we're going to move on to the OTC. So the original trilogy collection, you got the VOTC, the first 12 there, forerunners of the vintage collection, and they're going up in price now. The OTC itself, the Sound Trooper from about towards the end of the line, that's the one to get. And I got one recently.
That's a beautiful line. That's the one you just got, correct?
Yeah. I mean, I already
really
had
nice
one.
figure.
I already had one graded, but I grabbed another one because it was so cheap. So, the Saga. I can't read. Let me see. The Woolworths Vader. So in the UK, we got the first VOTC Vader sold at Woolworths, and it's got a few differences to what was released.
Yes. I've seen one of those. I saw one of those graded on eBay. I was like, "What is this?" So I had to look it up. It's really cool. That's a really cool.
I've got 16 of them, so you know, because when Woolworths was closing down, they were selling them off for very low. So I just grabbed bags of them. Okay,
that's awesome.
I think
that's a start, hey guys. For everyone watching, that's the definition of a hoarder, and that's what Star Wars collectors are. Okay,
yeah,
we're hoarders. That's awesome.
I think what's a good thing about the Saga line is there's a lot of prototypes you can get from that line as well, like the Ethot Man I got, and all the stuff you've got, and I've got a few others as well. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good line to collect. I mean, in terms of prototypes and stuff like that.
Yeah, the prototypes for the Saga line, I agree with him on this, is that they're not very hard to find, and
I got that.
You don't have to spend a ton. Yeah, this is the one I saw yours, and I had to find one, so I did find one in the UK, and then we got this is a Saga too. This is Luminar Anduli.
I've got Shaq T like that, but mine's ungraded, so I need to get this. And though maybe 8 years ago you could get them for $10 each, you know, a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I think for this one I paid $25 because the guy didn't know what it was. He said it was just like an unpainted figure, but the reason I knew that this was a prototype is because the saber is actually blue instead of the retail version, which is like an orangish green. So I snapped it up, and I think I paid $20 or $30 for it. I can't remember.
You got a good deal there.
This is like one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite prototypes. Look how beautiful that is.
I mean, the way it captures the movement and all that sort of stuff just looks amazing. Okay, let's keep going because I'm cognizant of my slowness. So
I want to make sure we get to the vintage collection because we got Bosk on, and you know I'd like to hear his thoughts. He's already mentioned one of them, but let's go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Saga now. So I know Revenge of the Sith. There's nothing really in that whole line that's worth tracking down, apart from there's a press release kit with Anakin Skywalker. It comes in quite a large box, and that's
crazy money.
That's worth a lot of money. So that's the one I'd say in that sort of from 2005. Then we move on to Saga, the 2006 line, the Demise of Grievous. Nothing really spectacular in that line. Then we can move on to the 30th anniversary collection. 30th anniversary collection, we got the Revan, the Malak.
The Revan.
I could have bought those two at Woolies for $2.99 each. And I don't know why I didn't do that. So Revan, Malak, pre-Cyborg Grievous, Holiday Boba Fett, and the Concept Grievous, which I think was you had to get that from the fan club or stuff like that. That's those figures there. Now we move on to the Legacy collection. A lot of the figures in that line are sort of quite highly sought now, and they go for a lot of money. I think the reason that is because the figures by 2008, 2009 were getting to the standard of vintage collection
Some of the
figures.
molds,
Really,
some of the molds are incredible. Like the one that Boss just got, the Ugnaught, and some of those gunners for the Jabba's Bard.
yeah. And those figures now, all of them go for a lot of money, because I've got the Shaq T, and that goes for
that's a gorgeous figure. I saw your review of that one recently. That's an amazing figure. Amazing figure.
Yeah. So the Legacy collection, there's loads and loads, all the freaky aliens. I mean, they went to town with that line because they did a lot of the stuff from the Cantina, Jabba's Palace, all that sort of stuff that collectors now just want. Then we move on to Clone Wars. So we'd say with Clone Wars, anything Ashoka and Darth Sidious. I think Darth Sidious is the most valuable of the whole lot.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Gerald, sorry to interrupt. Gerald Coral asked, has my Lando Mando miscard come back from CAS? And the answer is no, but it should be here in the next week or two, is my guess. And I'm excited about that one. So sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, no, it's good, because I'm trying to read my writing, and my writing leaves a lot to be desired. So we're on the Legacy collection, and we're talking about Clone Wars, aren't we? So
Clone Wars, yeah.
Yep. So we're talking about
all the Ahsoka's crazy money.
Yeah. Sergeant Brick. This tall figure that Toys R Us put out, I can't remember its name. It looked like Wat Tambor. I mean, I think a lot of the Clone Wars figures are now command quite a bit of money now if you wanted to collect those. And then we're moving on to now our favorite area, the vintage collection, VC. So these are the original 2010 to 12 line, and I'm going to give my opinion of which ones. I think most of them now, I mean, it's quite amazing how much they've gone up in value.
Crazy.
The mail-in Boba Fett, because I was looking recently on eBay about the price of the mail Fett and the mail-in Boba Fett, the Rocket Fett, and the price of the box itself was selling for 20 to 30 quid on eBay, just the box without the figure. And then also the white prototype Boba Fett, the mini figures that came in that Death Star set, the Mouse Droid and Salacious Crumb, they just £400, I think, each.
Oh, easy. Yeah, the Jar Jar Binks in Carbonite. I mean, crazy.
Yeah. Some of the later 2012 figures, because the line was, like the Republic Commando. I said the show.
Boss brought up the one that you brought up on Instagram. That's VC20 on the Canadian card. So wow. Yoda, you have a typical Revenge of the Sith card, where he's kind of like getting his Count Dooku battle thing on, but for whatever reason, for those of you who are unfamiliar, the Canadian card uses the same image or a similar image to the vintage Kenner line. For whatever reason. So it's extremely rare. And I almost bought one last month. It was listed on the Canadian eBay. And I debated whether to do it or not. And by the time I kind of came around, it had already sold. But that one is now selling for between $350 and $400 US, which is just crazy. So
I mean, that's a figure we don't see in the UK at all. So I haven't seen one of those for ages. I mean, I only became aware of that figure because someone had it on eBay, maybe at the time, 2012, and wanted 50 US or something like that. And I thought that was a bit steep. So I didn't bite the bullet, to my regret now. But, I think it just looks great because, it's got the original Yoda picture and, it just looks fab.
It's rare. It's rare, but it does happen. I was talking to another collector on Facebook who collects VC, and he said that sometimes eBay sellers will not realize what they have, and they'll list it kind of in line with the Revenge of the Sith card back, $50 or less, and so and that happened recently. That was like maybe 3-4 months ago. He said. So if you see an accidental mispricing like that, that's one to grab, is the Canadian Yoda. But you're looking at probably at least 300, I would say, for one. There's one on auction right now on eBay, but the card is really beat up. I think it's about $80 right now, but the card is really badly creased. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Boss Bounty's saying the Sound Trooper. Yeah, definitely the one that came out towards the end of the line, because that's a really nice card. I think someone talking recently was talking about the Lost line as well. Those have gone up in value as well. I think other ones that are quite hot, I'd say the VC-44, the Luke Dagobah landing, the Slave Layer VC-64. I did write the Sound Trooper actually. Shay Vizsla.
Now, I've got a question. I've got a question for you, and this is for Tim, Boss Bounty, also. I've heard conflicting reports on this because I don't know. I don't know the VC line as well as you guys do. Which Slave Leia is considered more expensive, the Revenge card or the regular Return of the Jedi card? It came on two different cards for those unfamiliar, but I've seen it go both ways. I've heard some people say no, the Return of the Jedi card is more difficult to find, and then I've heard others say no, the Revenge card is more difficult because it was an exclusive. But anyway, Boss is saying Revenge. There you go. There's your answer.
I don't know. I've got the Revenge one. My one's graded as well, but nice. I think at the time that was the most expensive I paid for a vintage collection figure when I bought that one.
I want to see that. You got to do another video on that one. I don't remember seeing that one.
Yeah, I think I did it at the time. Emperor's Royal Guard. I mean, some of these have been reissued on the in the Black Series, the Ponda Baba. I mean, that whole line, there's just so many figures you can pick that are now highly sought, because I think a lot of people now are trying to assemble a collection, and that's why the prices have just gone up. Then we move, and I also wrote any Boba Fett. So yeah, it's the original VC09. Yeah,
that's a good point. With the reissue, and but for me, selfishly, I am kind of glad that they did reissue it, because I don't want to pay $100 or whatever it costs for now. But yeah, the original is a beauty. That's a nice one.
And I don't think reissues are going to really affect the prices too much. I think because people are going to
they haven't at all.
People are going to, even if they get the reissues and that's their starting point, eventually they'll probably want to move on to getting a variance, and this is something I've discussed with Only One Kenobi, because he is very keen on collecting every variant of the vintage collection, and so he has probably 2 to 3 examples of each character. I
want to bring something. I want to bring something up. For those of you who do collect vintage collection, this is something to be very careful of that I see all the time now on eBay. For any figure that is a reissue, a lot of and I've even seen graded examples, mistakenly graded examples. For those of you who collect the vintage collection and you're trying to find the original, not the reissue, be careful, because some unscrupulous eBay sellers are listing them as the original. But if you zoom in on the backs of the cards, or if you're not familiar with the differences on the card fronts, they're actually the reissues. And I have seen several, both AFA and Collector Archive Services graded examples that are listed on the label as the original, but they're actually the reissue, and it was a mistake by the grading companies. So be very careful on that. For those, and I know there's not a lot of people out here other than probably you and me that collect graded vintage collection, but that's something to keep an eye on, is that there's some unscrupulous people out there, and there's mistakes by the grading companies too. So anyway.
Yeah. Okay, great. Good advice there. So yeah, I think we've covered, the 2010 to 2012 is, all of that, the whole lot has gone up in value. Even the Phantom Menace line, that's the only wave I collected, the whole lot of them. They're set for 20 to 30 quid each in the UK. So
hey, let me ask you something. Let me ask you a question. For more recent vintage collection, and this is for Bosk or whoever's watching. for most recent, let's say the last 3 years, vintage collection items, which ones do you think will command, a pretty big premium this time, let's say 3 years from now?
Well, I took Bosk's Bounty's advice because he did a talk with Obi-Wan Kenobi and he told me about the VC148. So I just snapped. That was in my head and I got one on Sunday.
Now, this is for those who don't know, this is the Imperial Tank Commander, correct?
Yep. And, I'd been watching it beforehand and the seller knocked 20 quid off the price. So I said, I'm having that.
Yeah, that was a great buy. That's a beautiful figure. It's uncirculated too, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've just got the reviews are not up yet, but I've just got the Power Droid, and that's just such a beautiful figure. I mean,
it is. And there's only one. There's only one per case too, which Bosk had brought up in a recent video, is that when the sealed cases from Hasbro, they included two of every figure except for the Power Droid, if memory serves.
Yeah.
So that'll be a little bit more difficult to find long term, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, out of the new ones, I don't know which. I mean, the Death Trooper seems to be a bit scarce now as well, so I did a trade recently.
A strange one. This is one that I found was strange, but I've been kind of watching it because I like the card back. Is the Luke Skywalker for crate from whatever the second movie is. I can't remember the name of it now, but the Luke crate. Yeah. It's kind of a bluish robe he's wearing.
Yeah.
That one has really creeped up in price a lot lately for whatever reason. So.
Oh wow. So that's something to track down then. Yeah, I mean, also, I mean, we haven't touched on the Black Series, the 3.75 Black Series, which
let's get to those. Yeah, let's talk about those.
Came after the vintage collection. So what was great about that was they released a lot of the hard VC figures that, like the Emperor's Royal Guard, were reissued, the Ponda Baba and all that sort of stuff. But they did put some really nice rare figures out, which out of the Black Series, I'd say the Plagueis, Darth Plagueis is a really tough one
that's a beautiful figure.
Get. The Mara Jade, that's another one. So hopefully they'll be released again on the vintage collection. The Star Killer.
Oh, that's a great figure too.
Yeah. So what do I write here? Hopefully most of we'll get a reissue. Come on, best of both worlds. Okay, yeah. So I think I've said that. One line we haven't touched on is the movie heroes, which were released. Some of these have got European exclusive, and there's one Boba Fett, which is movie heroes number 24. And
I still haven't even seen one. I've never seen one for sale ever. And I saw your video on this. I saw your videos on those, and I've never even seen one.
I think they were only released in Germany or maybe the Benelux, and that is such a hard figure to get. So if you're a Boba Fett collector, the movie heroes MH24 figure, which came around 2013, is a really tough figure. There's also a European wave of Clone Wars figures, I think towards the end of the line, that only got released in Europe. So those will probably be quite, because people in America are going to want those as well. I think we've covered everything now. The only things I thought about just before I did this is the Builder Droid figures. So some of the Builder Droid figures like HK47 and HK50, I think that's the numbers. It's the bounty hunter droid from KOTOR, calls human beings meat bags. That's a highly sought figure now. Obscure trooper packs. So, you've got trooper packs in plastic in 2 packs. I remember seeing the incinerator troopers. The Sith Evolutions 3 packs, they probably from 2008. So you've got a lot of those highly sought Sith figures that everyone wants. The comic packs that are going for big money now because you've got really obscure Sith Lords.
I think that the December vintage collection wave that has Vader, the Rogue One Darth Vader,
Yeah.
One of the, I'm pretty sure that one of the other figures in that wave is going to be an incinerator trooper.
Oh wow.
It's going to be Moff. So far, it's going to be Moff Gideon, the Mandalorian in the Beskar armor, the shiny Beskar armor, the Mandalorian armorer, the guy that builds the armor, Vader Rogue One, and then the incinerator trooper. That's the rumor. And if that's the wave of those 5, that's going to be an amazing. That's probably going to be one of the best waves ever in terms of vintage collection.
Yeah,
I've already pre-ordered it. I don't even know what's in it. I've already pre-ordered it. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, here's some of the comic packs, and you know, the one I wish I'd bought was Delilah Blue, because I think that figure's really good, and she came with you know, you've got all these really cool Sith Lords as well, like Darth Krayt and all of them. Not so, and these are just, you know, because a lot of people just focus on those Sith Lords, and you know, want to assemble a really cool set of Sith Lords, and that's
the open season, the one called Open Season. That's a comic 2-pack, Dark Horse comic 2-pack. That one goes ungraded. That one goes ungraded for like $600. It's crazy.
Yeah,
crazy one.
Yeah, so I think we've covered most of the modern era. I mean,
yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, it all depends on what your definition of a grail is, but I think that you bring up the ones. I mean, you've thank you, by the way, for putting together such a thorough list. I think that you know, I mentioned this while you're gone, but I don't consider Ahsoka on a vintage collection card to be a holy grail because it's so common. You know, it's easy to find. It's expensive, but it's not, to me, I don't think it's a grail. But I consider, you know, some of these others that brought up that are very, very difficult to find. I mean, you don't see them. Like, you know, the Yoda, the Canadian Yoda, I consider that to be a grail because it's just, you might see, I think I've seen maybe 3 of those for sale in the last 6 months, max. Not even that many, maybe 2. So, but that's a very comprehensive list for those that like to collect modern, that you know, are looking for ones that you know, you're going to keep in the package and not open up. That's a really great list.
Yeah, it's fun to put together as well. So seeing what I could think of and then, you know, jot down, and you know, so.
It's incredible. I mean, your mind is like a trap when it comes to this stuff, man. I mean, I didn't know half of these figures even before you brought them up, but I'm still on Power of the Force 2, man. I'm still trying to learn those.
Yeah. It's good fun. I think it's good. I mean, I think back in the day when they used to do magazines, it was like, you know, they had a section in the just before they had the price guide called investment, where you'd sort of they'd say what would be hot, what would be lukewarm, and all that sort of stuff. And you know, they had in the price guides, they'd have stuff that's going, all the stuff that's in pink is on the rise, and all blue is cooling down. So I mean, you know, I really miss Lee's action figure, you know, toy review. So yeah,
I don't know if you have a subscription or not, but the Star Wars Tracker app on your phone is a really good one. That's one that I don't look at it that much, but I do find it really interesting to like kind of look at, you know, tracked prices, and it's very detailed in terms of, you know, what's on the rise and what's flattening and things.
Darth Mark uses that on Blue Harvest. He I think he does a little show on Mondays about that. So yeah,
I really enjoyed those live streams. For those that you know, that are unfamiliar, that's a great Blue was it Blue Harvest Vintage Toys? That's a great segment, because and I like it when he pulls the you know, the print eBay sales, you know, of some of the more ridiculous sales. I mean, it blows your mind what some of the stuff sells for, you know.
Yeah, and it's good because like most of the sales are in the US and the UK. So in the UK, it's mostly loose variants and stuff like that, whereas in the US it's mostly carded figures. So it's quite interesting to see. And then the rest of the world is trifling, really, but it's mainly the UK and the US that are the big hitters. So
what does it tell you about the UK and the US that we're wasting money on, that we're wasting such ridiculous dollar amounts on little plastic figures? That tells you something. All right, man. Well, let's wrap it up. Thank you for being on. I think we're going to do one fairly soon. I don't know when, but Blacked Out Ewoks is going to host it next time.
Yeah, because you're going to do most of. I'm going to pick your brains that time next time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we really enjoy it. There he is. Let's bring up Blue Harvest Vintage Toys. I want to make sure that folks know about this channel. It's a great channel. These guys, I mean, they're crazy, but I love he's got a bunch of different segments, Mark does, and it's really interesting information for those that are unfamiliar. Make sure to go check them out on YouTube. So,
and he does Pally Boys on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. and Fridays at 8 p.m. as well. So that's a show worth checking out, because even if you're not on it, I've been on it, but I didn't. My mic was atrocious. I've got a new mic now, so there's my mic. So I mean, I kept on, like, no one could hear what I was saying. But I tend to have a lot to say anyhow, so I prefer just like 2 of us rather than 6 of us where I can't.
It's like ping pong balls bouncing around in a clown car when you got too many people. All right, well, let's wrap it up.
Pally Boys.
Check out Pally Boys. It's really great.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it, and leave comments, and make sure to subscribe to both of us on Instagram. I think it's been scrolling long enough that I don't need to tell you guys what our Instagram channels are. But thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you all soon.
Goodbye.